In addition to the many questions that are put to myself, Dr. Malachi Z. York, and many of my followers about what I am teaching you, the question, did he make Nibiru up? How do you know that the Anunnaqi are real and not just a fabrication of Dr. Malachi Z. York's mind? And again, just as I have answered before, Nibiru and the Anunnaqi are nothing new. The information that you are now hearing is information that I disclosed to the public as far back as the 1970s, and they are right and exact. Facts are facts and truth is truth. So for those of you that say that Wu-Sabat, Nibiru or the Anunnaqi, along with other things, are some new words that I just made up off of the top of my head, such as Nibiru, which means planet of the crossing or planet that crosses the skies. The word Nibiru comes from the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, root word Nabara, which means to raise, elevate, to go. Nibiru and the Anunnaqi are two of the things that I have been telling you about for over 20 years. When I first mentioned motherships and crafts, as usual, everyone thought I was crazy. People thought that I made it up or got it from the Elijah Muhammad, who referred to it as the mother plane. I will explain this later in this scroll. The thought of extraterrestrials or extraterrestrial crafts from outer space were unheard of, or they simply did not want to accept the fact that their Bible and Quran is filled with encounters of extraterrestrials or what you would consider anomalous. There were those who did know for a fact, and were first-hand witnesses of extraterrestrial beings and extraterrestrial craft sightings during the 1940s in Roswell, New Mexico. So there were some who knew that what I was saying was true, yet they did not want to accept those facts coming from me. However, now scientists are not only charting Nibiru in its orbit, but they are also picking up radar signals from what they call alien life forms. So now they are telling the public about it, and that is your confirmation that it does exist. Now I guess you can trust what I say because the Canaanite says it. 4 years ago, when the Ansaru Allah community became known as the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, or simply the Nubian Nation, and I started to release a whole new set of pamphlets called Scrolls, I mentioned to my congregation to watch the media and watch the other Nubian leaders. They all followed me. They pretend they don't, they wait to see what I have to say. And again, the moment I began talking about Anunnaqi or Nibiru, it's now, all of a sudden, all over the media, and many Nubian leaders are talking about it. What is so sad is, something that I came to realize a long time ago, that you only accept information from Europeans or Pale Arabs. If this information is not being said by some Pale Arab, then you don't believe it. If it's not being said by a Caucasian, then you don't believe it. If it's not on NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, or being broadcasted or smeared across the media, then you don't believe it. All of these facets are controlled. You don't see anything on television, tell lies visually, other than what they want you to see. You don't hear anything on the radio that they don't want you to hear. You never question these people or research what they are saying. You just accept what they tell you is true. However, I, Dr. Malachi Z. York, being the one raised for you from amongst you, your own messenger, came giving you information about everything under and now above the sun. Yet, you will question me endlessly. This is because you need the Caucasian stamp of approval. Thus, you will never be able to think on your own. You Nubians are literally out of your minds. That is why I am here, sent to you with right knowledge, right wisdom, and a right understanding which will lead to sound right reasoning, Wu-Sabat, to help break this evil hypnotic spell of ignorance that you are under. Do religious leaders teach or even know about crafts? Well, Elijah Muhammad did. Throughout his teachings he spoke about a mother plane, a wheel in a wheel that Ezekiel saw in a vision in books such as The Fall of America, The Message to the Black Man in America, and The Mother Plane. On page 2526 of The Mother Plane, written by Elijah Muhammad, it says, "There is a similar wheel in the sky today which very well answers the description of Ezekiel's vision. This wheel corresponds in a sphere of spheres called the universe. The great wheel which many of us see in the sky today is not so much a wheel as one may think in such terms, but rather a place made like wheel. The like of this wheel-like plane was never seen before. You cannot build one like it and get the same results. And the present wheel-shaped plane, known as the mother of planes, is 1/2 mile by 1/2 mile. So what about those crafts that people claim they see? 60% of the crafts that are seen flying in the skies were made right here on Earth. It is obvious by the construction of the crafts and how they fly. Some of them have wings and others are saucer and oval shaped. That's why most people call them discs or saucers. Think, most people say that the crafts they see came from outer space. In an atmosphere such as outer space where there is no air, why would there be crafts constructed with wings or saucer shaped? This is one way that you can determine whether crafts are made on Earth or from outer space. This is called aerodynamics. What is aerodynamics? Aerodynamics is the study of the flow of air and other gases and of the forces acting on bodies moving through the gases. Aerodynamics is a combination of the word aero, meaning air, atmosphere taken from the Greek word air, which means air, and the word dynamic, meaning of or relating to energy or to objects in motion. Yakin from the Greek word dunastai, which means to be able, powerful, strong, able. Aerodynamic forces act on airplanes, and any other objects that move through the air. Make note that spacecrafts, such as the shuttles that are sent up to other planets, do not involve aerodynamics because there is no air in space to produce aerodynamic forces. Only its flight through the Earth's atmosphere involves aerodynamics. Now if the UFOs that people are seeing every day are from outer space, where it consists of no air, then why are they shaped to fly through the Earth's atmosphere, an atmosphere that has air? Because they are made right here on Earth. So why do they keep referring to it as the mother plane? First, let me explain to you that a plane has nothing to do with an airplane because an airplane is not flat. This plane is describing a disc-shaped object. So don't let some misinformed preacher, leader, imam or rabbi, etc. come along and tell you that this mother plane that Elijah Muhammad was talking about is an airplane. Because it is not. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, plane is defined as an airplane or a hydroplane. A supporting surface of an airplane, an airfoil or a wing. And is taken from the Latin word plana meaning flat surface, from neuter of planus meaning flat. Now have you ever seen a flat airplane? No. So it is called a mother plane or a mothership because it houses smaller crafts, the same as a mother houses her children. The Holy Bible made for the Hebrew Israelites by their leader Yahweh ben Yahweh, who they call their Messiah, on the forward page. The Temple of Love Publishers, Miami, Florida, also teaches about crafts which they call UFOs. They say that in Genesis 3:8, when Adam and Eve heard the voice of God in the garden, it was coming from a UFO, and in their picture of Adam and Eve being banished from the garden, a craft is shown in the skies. In another picture, the Hebrew Israelites say one of Yahweh's UFOs appeared as a cloud by day and fire by night and hovered between Pharaoh's army and our forefathers. Yahweh fought for us and we held our peace in Exodus 14:14-20. Also, according to the Hebrew Israelites, Moses was allowed to see Yahweh's glory. Yahweh flies through the heavens in a mother plane that defies imagination. Exodus 33:18-22. Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind in 2 Kings 2:11-12. They say the chariot of fire was an UFO, and Ezekiel gives a perfect description of round flying machines, wheel in the middle of a wheel. In an article published in the Final Call newspaper published by the Nation of Islam on November 30, 1989 AD under Minister Louis Farrakhan's leadership, page 27, entitled UFOs, Fantasy or Reality? By Jibril Muhammad, it states that he and two other representatives of the Nation of Islam went to Frankfurt, Germany to attend a UFO conference. In this article he states within a day or two of the minister's press conference and before the mockery of the mocker could settle in, Allah showed a sign by ordering one of the smaller, or baby, planes to be seen in Washington, D.C. during the conference. In Germany, the conference was shown a report in a Turkish newspaper of one of these planes over Europe. It also says that Louis Farrakhan is being guided to uncover what they are having a hard time uncovering. So they work night and day to try and keep a blanket of secrecy or falsehood over the minister, the two who back him, the truth he preaches, and the wonderful future we as a people have if we will submit to our God Allah. Minister Louis Farrakhan had 1 million people listening to him on October 16, 1995 AD at his Million-Man March, and he did not say one thing about UFOs that he is supposed to be uncovering. Then there was also an article in the Sun newspaper, November 7, 1995 AD, a month later, entitled, New Farrakhan Shocker, I Believe in UFOs, where he claimed that 10 years ago he was taken up by a craft that took him to a larger mothership. He met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that President Reagan was planning a war. Minister Louis Farrakhan is quoted as saying, aliens took me to visit the mothership. I really don't care if you think I'm a nut. Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke about this encounter at the Union Temple Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. to a crowd of 2,000 people. What are the opinions of the leading Bible scholars? Biblical scholars know of a place or thing that their Bible promises them called the Holy City, the New Jerusalem, that is spoken of 5 times in the New Testament. It is the main theme of the book of Revelation. They are not sure if the New Jerusalem is a heavenly abode or an earthly abode or exactly what it is. According to the Wycliffe Bible Commentary, it is probably not to be identified with heaven, but it must certainly be that to which the scriptures have previously pointed, the city of God, the New Jerusalem, the Zion that is above. One must not be dogmatic here as to what may be interpreted symbolically and what must be considered literal. According to the Ryrie Study Bible, New Jerusalem, this heavenly city will be the abode of all the saints, Hebrew 12:22-24, the bride of Christ, Revelation 21:9-10, and the place Christ is preparing for his people, John 14:2. During the millennium, the New Jerusalem, described in detail in Revelation 21:9-22-5, apparently will be suspended over the earth, and it will be the dwelling place of all believers during eternity, as is emphasized in 21:1-8. According to the Clark's Bible commentary, even Jerusalem was the subject of allegory, for it was a maxim among the rabbins, that whatsoever was in the earth, the same was also found in heaven, for there is no matter, howsoever small, in this world, that is not something similar to it in the spiritual world. On this maxim, the Jews imagine that every earthly thing has its representative in heaven, and especially whatever concerns Jerusalem, the law, and its ordinances. According to the Book of Revelation by the Worldwide Church of God, interpreters have held differing opinions as to what it is. Some say this New Jerusalem is a real city. Others claim it is only an allegory of the perfected and eternal church. The New Jerusalem as an analogy of the immoral saints would stand in stark contrast to that of the deceived people in today's system, Babylon the Great. Babylon is the wicked harlot and the New Jerusalem is the holy city of God. Babylon is full of evil, Rev. 18:2. The New Jerusalem is pure, Revelation 21:27. According to Daniel and Revelation by Uriah Smith, if we consider this deception exclusively metaphorical, it is done by many who profess to be Bible teachers, and spiritualize away this city into ethereal nothingness. How unmeaning do these minute descriptions appear? But if we take it in its natural and obvious significance, and look upon the city as the prophet evidently intended, as a literal and tangible abode, our glorious inheritance, the beauties of which we are to look upon with our own eyes, how the glory of the scene is enhanced. From reading these commentaries, it is obvious that they don't know what the books of Daniel, Ezekiel, Joel, and Revelation are about. You have people of various religious denominations such as the Jews who do everything in their power to avoid explaining Ezekiel's wheel, Ezekiel 1:16. They will never tell you that the wheel within a wheel was an actual craft. In Ezekiel 42:3 and 5, it describes the New Jerusalem that is also talked about in Revelation 21:10, 15-17. Ezekiel was sent to the Israelites, who were exiled to Babylon. Many of Ezekiel's messages were concentrated around the 7 years before the destruction of Jerusalem and their temple. Ezekiel's most prominent vision was that of the 4 living creatures and the mothership. Many of the prophecies that were made in the book of Revelation were already done in the prophetical books of Ezekiel, Daniel, Joel and Zechariah. The following is a list of the similarities between the book of Ezekiel and Revelation. The 4 living creatures, Ezekiel 1:5-12, Revelation 4:6-8. The description of the mothership, the crystal city, Ezekiel 1:22, Revelation 15:2. The appearance of the Elohim Murdoch, Melchizedek, Ezekiel 1:26-28, Revelation 4:2-3. The description of book, scroll, written within and without, Ezekiel 2:9-10, Revelation 4:6-8. The words of a book which are eaten, Ezekiel 3:1-3, Revelation 10:9-10. The city of Tyre is like unto Babylon the Great, Revelation 18:7, 9-11, 15-19 and 23, Ezekiel 27:27-33 and 36, 28:17-19. Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38:2-4, 18, 39-1, Revelation 28. The New Jerusalem, Ezekiel 42:3 and 5, Revelation 21:10, 15, 16-17. The river of life Kauthar, Ezekiel 47:5-6, Revelation 22:1. The tree of life, Ezekiel 47:7, Revelation 22:2. Ezekiel's will is not the only story that they can't explain in the Old Testament. They try to avoid information that is recorded right in the Old Testament in which they profess to believe in. They try to avoid explaining that in Genesis 5:24, Enoch, whose angelic name is Adipha, says God took him where it says, and I quote, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." First, let me state that the word used for God in Genesis 5:24 is Elohim, which is a plural not singular. This would mean that there was more than one God present at the time. The word being used for walked is halak, meaning to walk, depart, to come, which is a physical act that was done with these same physical gods that took him. And the word for took in this quote is lakak, which means to get, fetch, lay hold of, seize, receive. It does not say that he died, the Elohim took him. All of which were physical acts. How can God be a physical being? When you define God according to your Bible, you will find that throughout the scriptures who you refer to as the Lord God, the Almighty God, etc. is constantly being referred to by using human attributes, or by doing human acts, as in the case of walking with Enoch, as previously mentioned. If God is not a physical being, then it is impossible for him to do physical acts without having a physical form. God is always called a him, which is a pronoun and falls in the category with words like he, him, her, us, they, them, and those. Or with biblical words like thou, ye, and thee. These are all expressions of a person, be they male or female. In the terms of a God person, it would be personification, which simply means person, infication. Therefore, the term God is synonymous with he or him. If you look in the Quran, you will find in the Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word uwa, he, which is a male expression used repeatedly when speaking of God. As in the 112th chapter of Quran where it says, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. When you go to the Bible, the Torah refers to this Godhead as Elohim, Adonai, or Yahweh, all of which are masculine. The New Testament refers to God as Theos, Kyrios, or Christos, which are also masculine. Not to mention that the Quran 110 begins with Itha Ja Nazru Allah wa al-Fath. Also Quran 89:22 it says, Wa Ja Rabuka. And it clearly states that Allah would come. The Ja means came or is coming. The same Ja that is found in the Quran 110th chapter that is came and is coming. By reading this, the Quran is implying that Allah is coming, and that means that he, as they call him, is in motion from one place to another, and this limits his contents, and gives him form or substance, which limits him to space and time, which gives him a composition and being. How do you explain God being in the physical form like humans? If human beings claim in their scriptures that humans are created in the image and after the likeness of God, Genesis 1:26, then his composition, form, and personification must be human-like. This is the very word used in the scriptures for fashion, which is suwar, taken from al-Muzawwir, the fashioner, the 13th attribute of Allah. In the Torah, Genesis 1:27, and God, Elohim, created man, Adam, in his own image. Now look at Genesis 2:7, and the Lord, Yahweh, God, Elohim, formed Yazar man, Adam. In the Aramaic, Hebrew, the word Yazar means to form, fashion, frame. There are many other meanings in the Quran that confirms that it is a confirmation of the Torah, Quran 10:94. It reads, and I quote, If you are in doubt about what you find in the Quran, go back to the scripture before it. Which the Quran 3:3 says, It is he that is sent down step by step in truth the book confirming what went before it, and he sent down the Torah, law, and the Injil, gospel, of Jesus. You may ask, what is my point? My point is that unless you're going to yell at this point because this point doesn't agree with your point, that the Torah is tampered with, then you will have to accept that Allah in the Quran, Yahweh and Elohim in the Torah, and Theos or Kyrios of the New Testament all have a human form, image or likeness, as found in what you would call his own words, thus, being he, God, is a him, you've given him a gender, and that in itself is a confession of a sexual persuasion, meaning he, God, is a him or a male, and a man is a human being, male of the human race, Ish. It's all quite simple, and it's right within the text of your own Bibles and Qurans, you just don't see it because you have been programmed not to. Any God that can personify in some kind of form in order to communicate, is limited, and there are only a certain amount of powers that he has. This is how you know that the God of your Torah, New Testament, and Quran is not the Most High or the Supreme, because there are no limits to what the All can do. Think about it. In the book of Revelation chapter 21 it tells you that you will meet God, and so does the Quran. They both have the same God concept. The Quran promises you that you are going to a place where God will be, which means this is a physical place where there will be some type of physical God called Allah. Could you explain what you mean by a physical God, Allah? In the Quran there is a chapter named Ayatul Kursi, Quran 2-255, which implies that Allah has a throne on high, Allah. When I make a statement like according to your Quran Allah is on a craft, you call me crazy. And don't say that chair means throne in Arabic, because it doesn't. The word for throne in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, according to Al-Mahdi, a modern English-Arabic dictionary by Munir Bulbaki, is arsh. However, you place Allah on a chair and it is okay. Never once thinking about the fact that in order to sit on a chair he must have a buttocks to sit on that chair with. By placing Allah on, or in something, that means that he has a size, a shape and a form. Just like when you place him in the heavens as the light. Allahu Nuris Sama'ati wal Art, simply translates as Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. You create the limitations, or should I say, the Allah of the Quran is letting you know that he is also in the all. The same thing is done in the Bible in Matthew 23:22 where it says, and I quote, He that swear by heaven, sweareth by the throne of God, and by him who sitteth thereon. The word being used here for throne is the Greek word thronos, and it means throne, seat. The word bema is also used for seat in Matthew 27:19 and means judgment seat, throne. The word cathedral is from the Greek word for seat, which is simply cathedra, Matthew 23:2, with L added to give you cathedral. So in order for Allah to be on a throne, Quran 2-255, a material thing, he would have to be matter, something that occupies space and can be perceived by one or more senses, a physical body, a physical substance, or something that is mass and exists as a solid, liquid, or gas. In order for Allah to be in Jannah, Quran 1831, Quran 1960, which is a garden, he would have to be physical, and in order for Allah to have 99 attributes, renders him a limited being, simply because the 99 attributes are related to the 99 natural elements, which are related to the physical world, earth. And just having 99 gives you a limited number, or 100, it's still a limited number. It is less names than the Hindu god Shiva, who has more than 1,000 names. The All is also, it has infinite names. How would giving Allah attributes make him limited? Wouldn't that do just the opposite, raise him above limitations? No, it would not. Giving Allah attributes is just the opposite. It takes away from the omnipotence and makes him a physical being, and physical beings have what? Exactly, physical limitations. A god that allows people to win or lose a battle has limitations. He is in the middle, refereeing which one of you should win and which one of you should lose. Quran 94:1 says that Muhammad's heart was washed and his chest was expanded, meaning the very essence of Allah was in him. This would give Muhammad a certain amount of divinity as well. So when Muhammad was fighting in the Battle of Badr and the Battle of Uhud, Quran 3:124, he could have merely thought a thing and it would have happened. In the Battle of Badr, it is said that Muhammad had 3,000 angels come down and help him defeat the opposers. Being that the Spirit of Allah was with Muhammad, why would he need any assistance at all? Better yet, why would the Messenger of Allah have to fight? Why are angels sent to kill people? This is what makes Muslims think terrorism is okay. For Allah to be Al-Mahdi to the strengthener, the 39th attribute, Al-Mudhilu the destroyer, the 25th attribute, Al-Mummi to the taker of life, the 61st attribute, or even Al-Ajamu the supreme, prime or best, which is the 33rd attribute of Allah, and each of these titles are physical attributes and can all be attributed to humans. He would have had to be the most supreme out all of the other beings who was striving for this position. He would have had to be the most knowing, the most destructive, and the strongest out of all of the other beings as well, in order to earn this title. You cannot be the supreme est without someone else being there. There would have to be two or more beings, for one of them to be the supreme est over the others. There would be no need for Allah to be called the oldest. The oldest of what? This question couldn't exist if there was but one. That is just a confession that there is more than one Allah. Al-Haadi, Quran 36:23, 43-45. Al-Haadikum, Quran 38-6, meaning your sources, Al-Haadama, Quran 43:58, which translates as our Allah, or our gods. If it was one Allah, then the est wouldn't exist. If there is only one God, how could you question who is the greatest, the supreme est, the wise est, the strongest, the firmest, the kindest, etc.? Why do Muslims spend so much time constantly reminding themselves in their prayers and everyday life that Allah is one, that Allah has no partners, that Allah is alone in His power, that none can compare to Allah, and Allah is the greatest? If I have to keep reminding you that I am the greatest, a statement that Muhammad Ali used to make, the boxer that is, who was eventually knocked out, why does any God have to keep telling you that he is the only true God? For example, Mike Tyson is the greatest boxer when compared to all the other boxers. If he was the only boxer in the world, there is no way possible that he could be titled the greatest because he is the only one boxing. Or like Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player in the world. If Michael Jordan had not been in heavy competition with other basketball players, he could not have obtained the title the greatest. Do you understand what I am saying? If there were only one God, there would be no need for a Quran, because the whole purpose of the Quran is to reveal to you to worship one God or you will be punished. Why does Allah have to keep reiterating I am alone, I have no partners? Why is it necessary if there is no other God equal in power to Him? This is another confession that Allah is not the only God as you have been taught to believe. Think about it. Would a God who is in control have a counterpart in Quran 53:19 as Allah, which is as the goddess Lot? A goddess that can be found in poetry before the Quran. So this goddess was established before Muhammad and before he received the Quran. A God who has daughters? A God who has sons? This cannot be the All, because the All wouldn't yield any physical sons or daughters. You can say that Allah is the All, it simply depends on what point of view you are looking from. So this being that you all want to claim as God is a God who has limitations. The very fact that the Quran claims Allah has daughters means in someone's mind the possibility was there, be they right or wrong. Also, Quran 2:22 literally says that when Allah finished His duties on earth, He took residence in the heavens and made it a firm structure. El's Holy Quran 87:22, original order, it is He, Yahuwah, who made the planet Earth a resting place for you, and the sky a well-built structure, and He sent water down from the sky, and He bringeth forth fruits by way of it as provisions for you, and don't make with Him any rivals, and while you all know better. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. This means that Allah is in motion and this Allah travels from place to place. Quran 2:29. According to the Quran of the Mohammedans, this is the Allah you will meet on Judgment Day, Yawm al-Akhiri, Quran 2-228, 60-6. In Quran 2:28 the word Raja is used, which means to return. This Allah is a mortal sometimes, Quran 55:27, a spirit at other times, Quran 15:29, and a mere inspiration at other times, Quran 17:85. Now, getting back to my point, Enoch, the only other place in the Bible where Enoch pops up is in the New Testament, which Jews do not read or believe in. So you ask them to tell you, where was Enoch taken to? How did he get there? Where did these gods come from who took him, and did they appear to him in a physical form? They won't even address the Book of Enoch. Portions of the Book of Enoch have been published by different authors such as Dr. Donald P. Coverdell, in his book The Mystery Clouds, page 33, where it says, and I quote, Enoch chapters 1-5 announces a last judgment. It claims that the divine God will leave his heavenly abode to appear on earth with this angelic host. Again, the so-called Hebrews will ignore this, although it is written right in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now that you know I didn't just make this all up, you can find the Book of Enoch in its entirety in chapter 11 of the Holy Tablets, El Loha El Qudus. The prophet Elijah was taken up into the heavens, bodily. 2 Kings 2:11, and it came to pass as they still went on, and talked, that behold there appeared a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and divided between both of them, and Elijah ascended up by a whirlwind into the skies. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Elijah was taken up in a spacecraft. It is obvious that they didn't have the technology that we have today, thus when Elijah, Enoch or Muhammad had experiences, they described them the best way they could. However, these so-called scholars and commentators of the Bible and Quran cannot explain this to you because they do not know. So they make things up and hope that you do not question them. Christians read the New Testament faithfully. They base their very future on the book of Revelation in the hopes that a ship or some type of craft which they are sure about called the Holy City and the New Jerusalem is coming down from heaven. Revelation 21:2. John said he saw the Holy City coming down from Theos, God, out of Oranos, the Orion skies, and the voice even announced that this tabernacle is with anthropos, men, from which the word anthropology comes. He further states that God himself will dwell with them, and they shall be his laos, people, and Theos, God, himself shall be with them and shall be their Theos, God. This is clear that Christians believe that their God, the Father of Jesus, is coming in some kind of city called the Holy City. The word holy there is hagios, meaning so the statement is a flying city, a sacred flying city, and God is in it. These are called motherships or space stations that can be found in any Star Trek movie and the likes. They never address exactly what this holy city is, Revelation 21:3-4. If they do, they give explanations such as the following. According to Ryrie Study Bible, New Jerusalem. This heavenly city will be the abode of all the saints, Hebrews 12:22-24, the bride of Christ, Revelations 21:9-10, and the place Christ is preparing for his people, John 14:2. Described in detail in Revelations 21:9-22. 5, apparently will be suspended over the earth, and it will be the dwelling place of all believers during eternity, as is emphasized in 21:1-8. According to the Seventh-day Adventist Bible commentary, the new heavens and the new earth are, then, a recreation, a forming anew of existing elements, and not a creation. Some have insisted that this sea is symbolic of peoples, nations, tongues, but if so, the heavens and the earth would necessarily be symbolic also. Here John simply affirms that the heavens, the earth, and the seas will no longer exist as we know them now. According to the Hebrew/Greek Key Study Bible, the new heaven and earth are described in detail. The new heaven and the new earth are not duplicates of the heaven and earth that now exist. Some have suggested that the new heaven and the new earth will be as this heaven and this earth were at their creation. According to the Clark's Commentary Matthew, Revelation page 1058, this doubtless means the Christian church in a state of great prosperity and purity, but some think eternal blessedness is intended. Faye say God in the most special manner, dwells among his followers, diffusing his light and life everywhere. According to Aid to Bible Understanding published by Jehovah's Witnesses, obvious this city is not one erected by men and consisting of literal streets and buildings constructed in the Near East on the site of the ancient city of Jerusalem, which was destroyed in 70 CE. New Jerusalem is heavenly, not earthly, for it comes down out of heaven from God. Revelation 21:10. The members of this bride class when on earth are told that their citizenship exists in the heavens and that their hope is to receive an incorruptible and undefiled and unfading inheritance. The New Jerusalem will be the heavenly capital city or organization in which God and his King Jesus Christ dwell and reign. Revelation 21:22. According to the Irwin's Bible commentary, the New Jerusalem is the church in its purity and blessedness as predicted by Isaiah under the figure of a holy Jerusalem, which is more fully described by Ezekiel, and is repeatedly alluded to in the preceding portions of the New Testament. They try to hide the very fact that the Crystal City is a craft by telling you things as mentioned above, which all boils down to, they simply don't know. Each of the religious sect of Jews, Christians, and Muslims all had their council. The Jews set up the rabbinical council. They decided what stayed in the Torah and what was taken out, such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasper, and what is known as the lost books of the Bible. The Jews had the Pharisees, who sat at the base of the mountain and made their own book of laws called the Talmud and the Mishnah. The Talmud condoned male chauvinism, as well as pedophilism. Many of the Jews of today don't even know about the contents of the Talmud. The Christians set up several councils of Nicaea. They too removed books from the New Testament. Christians will go out of their way to hide the book of Barnabas because it tells you that Jesus was not really crucified. I am not talking about your everyday Christian. I am talking about the ones who are responsible for what you read and don't read, what gets passed down to you and what doesn't, what you are supposed to believe in and what you are not. You have the canonized books of Paul, Matthew, Luke, and John. These books are referred to as the Synoptic Gospels. And there are more books that were written by Paul, the self-appointed disciple of Jesus. The majority of the events in the Christian world, the average Christian doesn't know about the book of Barnabas. When you try to inform them, as I have done, you are labeled a blasphemer and troublemaker. The same thing happened in Ilam. There were a council of men called the Sahaba who were responsible for chapters being out of order in the Quran. The order that the Quran is in today is not the way it was originally revealed to Muhammad. So what is the place called Dar es-Salaam that Muslims talk about? Well, according to Islamic beliefs, they believe in a place called the Abode of Peace, or in Arabic, Dar es-Salaam. If you look at Quran 6 to 127 and 6 to 135, 1025, you will find the word Dar es-Salaam. Al's Holy Quran 55 to 127, original order, for them, is the Abode of Peace, New Jerusalem, with their master, Allah, and he is their nearest friend, because of what they are doing. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Al's Holy Quran 51:25, original order, and Allah calls to the abode of peace, New Jerusalem, and he leads into calmness whomever he pleases to the straight and narrow path of those who stand up straight. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. According to their commentaries by Abdullah Yusuf Ali 1938 AD, commentary, 1413. In contrast with the ephemeral and uncertain pleasures of this material life, there is a higher life to which God is always calling. It is called the home of peace. For there is no fear, nor disappointment, nor sorrow there. And all are called, and those will be chosen who have sought not material advantages, but the good pleasure of God. Salam, peace, is from the same root as Islam, the religion of unity and harmony. According to S.V. Mir Ahmed Ali Commentary, 1017. Salam, peace and bliss, refers to the state in paradise where prevails bliss perfect. Salam is one of the holy names with which God is addressed. Applying this interpretation, God invites making to him with whom nothing but bliss prevails. It is said that the life on this earth starts with crying. A human child immediately as it lands on earth starts its life with crying, passes through miseries and sorrows of life and ends it with effacement. God invites from this abode of misery and effacement to the abode of bliss perfect and of life eternal. Again, they are all guessing. Dar es-Salaam is in reference to paradise, the heavenly abode that Muslims are striving to attain. People often mistake the word Jannah as being paradise. However, it isn't. Jannah simply means garden. The word Dar is an Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, word that means house, dwelling, mansion, abode. Dar es-Salaam is also known as the New Jerusalem. It is a mistake to interpret Dar es-Salaam as a masjid or a community here on earth. They are talking about an actual city coming down to earth and taking the righteous to paradise. As you can see, this whole concept was copied from the Old and New Testaments of the Bible. Throughout the Mohammedan world, an event called Al-Mi'raj was experienced by the Prophet Muhammad. This is the time when he received the injunction for prayer in the year 620 AD. In Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, the word Mi'raj means ladder, stairs, midnight journey to the seven heavens. From the root araja meaning to ascend, mount, rise. Literally, the word al-Mi'raj means a ladder, an ascension or elevation. Muhammad tried to explain this to his companions, when he said in Quran 17:1, I was taken up to the sky in Israel. Meaning went up, journey by night. There is where he met the prophets and angels of the past. He went up on something called a burak, which according to the Lane Arabic English lexicon is defined as a certain beast which Muhammad rode on the night of ascension, or which the apostles ride when ascending to heaven. resembling a mule, or less than the mule, but greater than the ass, so called because of the intense whiteness of his hue, and his great brightness, or because of the quickness of his motion, in respect of both of which he likened to lightning. You mean to tell me that Muhammad and all the apostles went up to heaven on some beast that is crossed between a mule and an ass? Let's be for real. This of course was not a beast, especially one crossed between a mule and an ass. Ask yourself, what animal in existence ever looked bright, intensely white of hue, likened to lightning? There is none. Yet, Muslims have and still do believe this ridiculous story for centuries. The so-called Muslim scholars, linguists, and educators who are supposed to be so well learnt about the Quran do not know how Muhammad ascended, and instead of admitting that they don't know, they continue to believe and propagate this hadith, which if you take the time to listen to it makes absolutely no sense. Much like all the other hadiths that they believe in. This may be good enough for them, meaning to live in a fictitious world where mules ride you off to heaven, but it isn't good enough for me. Why are they hiding these facts from people? They simply don't want you to know. It is no secret that there were spacecrafts in biblical times, and that intelligent beings that you call angels are indeed extraterrestrials. Again, a fact that I have been teaching you for years. They will tell you in a subtle kind of way, or in a joke to make you laugh about it, so you will not believe them. They don't want you to be aware of what's really going on. They want you to stay in the dark, with no knowledge of what's going on and no inquisition of finding out, keeping you blind, deaf, and dumb under this hypnotic spell of Kingu. There was a Sun newspaper dated May 17, 1994 AD, Volume 12, that published an article entitled "God Sent Aliens to Create the World." This is not a coincidence. They put these kinds of articles inside of tabloid newspapers so that you may think that they are a joke. Just to keep you spellbound. Now that more of the Dead Sea Scrolls are being discovered, they want to write them off like they don't exist. The Dead Sea Scrolls of the Qumran caves were discovered in 1947 AD and are the oldest surviving records of the Old Testament. There is information about extraterrestrial involvements that are written in the Dead Sea Scrolls that they don't want to explain. The money-hungry ones of them are selling pieces of the Dead Sea Scrolls for profit. Everybody knows that there is some craft or city that is somewhere out there. They all try to ignore Zecharia Sitchin's findings, and others who have published books such as Maurice Chetlain, Alexander Heidel, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Dr. Donald P. Coverdell, and Eric von Däniken, to name a few. I have been saying for 20 years now that there are other planets that exist in this solar system as well as on the other side of the sun. Needless to say, everybody thought I was crazy. Now, NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, is saying that there are more than 9 planets, and with the use of time machines, they can travel to other parts of the universe. It's no coincidence that soon after I first spoke about a planet ship called Nibiru, there were findings all over the media of how satellites are picking up radar signals from something that is the size of Jupiter coming into Earth's atmosphere. This information was broadcasted on the Sci-Fi Channel, Science Fiction, and is referred to as Rilo 7 by some scientists. The most recent discovery is the sighting of 2 new planets that sustains life and is 40 light-years away, which is close according to space-time. One of the planets is located orbiting the stars 70 Virgins, in the Virgo constellation, and the other 47 Ursae Majoris, a star within the Big Dipper. Both of the planets, as scientists are calling them, each are about the size of the Sun. They know that it is too large to enter the Earth's atmosphere. Sounds familiar? And it doesn't stop there. In an issue of Sun magazine dated February 20, 1996 AD, in an article titled "World End in Year 2000", it speaks about a star that is going to destroy the Earth in the year 2000 AD. The paper states that it will not actually hit the Earth, but it will come close enough to pull the planet Earth out of its orbit. It also says, the world's government has been secretly working with the White House and a special task force of elite NASA scientists to deflect the runaway star, which has been codenamed Wormwood. They say that Wormwood is about 5 times larger than Earth, and it will cause hell on Earth. According to them, its gravitational pull alone will cause incredible storms, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. They say American and Russian military scientists are working desperately to build an arsenal of monster nuclear missiles in hopes to blast Wormwood away back into outer space from their moon base. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? They are talking about Nibiru. So for those of you who think that I am just making things up, you are wrong. Everything that I have been telling you is being told to you every day. You just don't want to accept it coming from me. Don't believe me? Check it out. Also, in an issue of Weekly World News dated February 13, 1996, an article entitled "Doomsday Comet Speeding Toward Earth." On page 8-9, states a comet, the size of Europe, is on a collision course with Earth, and if something isn't done to stop it, billions of people will die. It states that the comet is not only huge, it is speeding toward Earth like a runaway locomotive. And if they are unable to destroy it in time, one or two things will happen. 1. The impact would smash Earth into pieces, sending fragments reeling into the icy, airless vastness of space. Or 2. Earth would remain intact. But millions or tons of dirt and debris would be kicked up into the atmosphere, which will veil the sun, plunging us into a temporary but devastating deep freeze that could kill 2 billion people or more. It also says scientists secretly met with Bill Clinton in the Oval Office and that the president is not only gravely concerned, he has already authorized the emergency expenditure of $2.6 billion that the Pentagon and NASA will need to modify land-based weapons for use in space. They are going to try their best to shoot it or deter its course. And for further confirmation of what I have been telling all along, information was released about a comet named Hale-Bopp which was discovered by Alan Hale and Thomas Bopp in the summer of 1995 AD. There is certain information about this bright light that is next to the comet which was sighted on November 1996 AD, that officials did not make public, such as, when the comet was still as far away as Halley's Comet, it was 1,000 times brighter. The comet was first seen when its distance from the sun was much too great for the gaseous coma of the comet to form. Yet has had a huge coma larger in diameter than the sun. Observations by the Hubble Space Telescope and other powerful ground-based scopes revealed unusual details, chunks breaking off from the comet, and no natural reason for this to happen since the comet was too far away from the sun for gravity or thermal effects to do this. The orbit of the comet is very strange, as if some intelligence had engineered a comet to get our attention. These are the comments made by astronomers about this unusual object. This object that they are talking about is Nibiru, which I made known many years ago. The comet itself is not Nibiru. Nibiru is right next to this comet, as is seen the picture below. There is an entire book out about this comet by Alan Hale entitled Everybody's Comet. Are there any other groups of people who know about Nibiru? Yes. The Sumerians of thousands of years ago knew about the solar system and the amount of planets that circled the sun. It was not always 9 as many people believed. The carving that is located at a museum in East Berlin, Germany, called the Vordrasieistische Atva of the State Museum, depicts a group of 11 globes encircling a large star or sun, which is clearly the solar system. On April 22 to 23, 1986 AD, witnesses described a craft as the thinking fireball. The fireball displayed multiple colors of lights and moved very fast. This was a simulation of Nibiru. As far back as 1915 AD, they knew about Nibiru, they just weren't telling you. Go do your research and you'll come across a magazine entitled The Electrical Experimenter, published in 1915 AD, and you'll see a picture of a simulation of Nibiru on its front cover. In a pamphlet written by Dr. Frank E. Stranges, titled The White Planet, he quotes a man named Carl Sagan, who says that in the northern part of the sky, someplace where there seems to be less stars than anywhere else, there is an object that keeps moving erratically and doesn't stay on a steady course. That object is unlike any heavenly body in the sky. Unlike a planet, sometimes it looks like a star. It does not change in configuration. It seems to be surrounded with a white, sometimes bluish, sometimes a greenish, light. Dr. Stranges further describes the object as a cube with a force field around it. And on the cover of the pamphlet, this object is also depicted as having clouds around it. Again, this is no coincidence that the description of this craft is very similar to the description that I have been telling you about for years. This object that he is speaking of is Nibiru. But ask yourselves, why is he telling you now? What is Nibiru? Nibiru means planet of the crossing, or planet that crosses the skies. It comes from the Ashuric-Syriac, Arabic, word Nabara, which means raised, elevated, and is a derivative of the Aramaic, Hebrew, word Nabresh, which means to give light, to shine. Nibiru is a movable throne, also called Markabah. According to the Hans Word Dictionary, on page 938, Nabara means to raise, elevate, to go up with a voice, sing in a high-pitched voice, to stress, emphasize, accentuate, to shout, yell, scream. According to the Lane's Arabic English Dictionary on page 2757, Nabara means raised, or elevated, a thing, raising of the voice. As you can see, Nibiru is not a word that I just made up. If you would do your research before you say that it's not true, you would know that. Nibiru stems from the Aramaic, Hebrew, word Nabresh and Ashuric-Syriac word Nabara, which leads back to the ancient cuneiform language meaning crossing place, or planet of the crossing. I don't just make things up, I don't have to, I do my research. Unlike most leaders, I simply deal with facts. Today, Nibiru would be explained as a shuttle that is self-sustaining and life-supporting. Nibiru is a craft that is the motherplane 3 times the size of the planet Earth, making it too large to get into the Earth's atmosphere. And let me say it again, when I said all of these things, you said I was making it up. Now reality is confirming itself. I've been saying for years that if Christians would read the Bible and you Muslims would really read the Quran, you would find everything that I am saying to you to be true. If you would have just taken the time to learn the original languages of the scriptures in which they were revealed, then you would get the true meanings, instead of guessing at what the scriptures are saying or what the scriptures are trying to say or accepting someone else's word. So who are these Anunnaqi that you are talking about? Don't be confused by the title Anunnaqi. Anunnaqi simply means those sent from Anu to Chi, earth. They are what the Muslims call the Malaikat, Quran 298. The Bible calls them angelos. The Sumerians call them Anunnaqi. The Yoruba called them Jinwins, Shushuki, and Umarwe. The American churches simply call them angels. Many other Native American tribes call them thunderbirds. In Egypt, they are called Nibiru. In the Old Testament they are referred to as angels, or in the Hebrew language, Elohim. They were there in the beginning of creation in Genesis, and I quote, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God, Elohim, created the heaven and the earth. Also in Genesis 1:26 it says, and I quote, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. And the us that is talking here are the Elohim, or angels, not a single God but gods that came to earth as well-made men. The same well-made men that came to Abraham in his tent in Genesis 18:2-3. Three Anunnaqi, or Elohim, who mysteriously appeared out of nowhere, visited Abraham and his wife Sarah, and one of these men he referred to as Lord or Adonai. Nowhere in the Bible does it give any indication where these three men came from. In Genesis 19:1 it speaks about two men who mysteriously came down to the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. In one instance they refer to these two beings as angels, where it says, and I quote, there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Here the word malach is being used and means messenger. In the next instance they refer to them as men. When you look at verse 5 of the same chapter, the men of Sodom call these two angels men, Enaush, meaning man, mortal man, person. And don't try to say that the men of Sodom didn't know that they were angels. These men were Anunnaqi, Elohim, who came as men in the city of Sodom. Genesis 19:1 also states that Lot bowed himself to these men, which means they were of some importance. Verse 2 goes on to say that he called them my lords, which is the Hebrew word Adonai, meaning Lord and Master. Lot knew that they weren't regular men, and he must have had visits from them before or knew of them, because he immediately ran to them and bowed out of respect. Prior to their arrival, Yahweh stopped off to see Abraham and told him that they were going to destroy Sodom. Genesis 18:33. Now, let's take a look at this quote word for word. El's Holy Torah, Genesis 18:33, and Yahuwah went his way, as soon as he had stopped speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Right translation in Aramaic, Hebrew, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. First, it says, and the Lord. The God that is being talked about here is Yahweh. Went his way, the word Yalak is used for went his way, which means to go, to walk, depart. This Yahweh Yalak walked away after he left Kala, finished communing Dabar, to speak, declare, converse, or talking with Abraham. That's what this quote says in the original Hebrew, and I don't want to make it sound confusing. I just wanted to put each word in so you could see what it says. And Yahuwah Yalak went his way, as Asher, soon as he had Kala, left, Dabar, speaking, with Abraham, Abraham, and Abraham, Abraham, Shub, returned to his Makom, place. Don't believe me? Go check it out. It's right there. Yahweh had to have feet that were attached to his legs in order to walk, and he had to have a larynx, and the functions of a larynx is to produce sound, in order to speak, all of which are physical attributes. Quran 23:33 also gives the implication that angels are merely physical beings just like you. When you read this verse it says, and I quote, in part, he is no more than a man like yourselves, he eats of that which ye eat, and drinks of what ye drink. El's Holy Quran 74:33, original order, and Al-Malayu, the rulers from his nation of Enosites, those who conceal that which they know to be the facts and lied about the meeting of the Akhira end, and we, Elohim, Anunnaqi, Atraphnam, bestowed upon them the good things in the life of the physical world. Saying, this is except a mortal in skin like you. He Yakulu eats from that which Takulun you all eat of, and he Yashrabu drinks from that which Tashrabun you all drink. Right translation in Ashuric Syriac, Arabic, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Now they are talking about an angel here, yet they are using the word Bashran, meaning a mortal in skin, and saying that these angels Ya'akulu, he eats mortal food as you do, and Yashrabu, he drinks mortal drinks as you do. The same as in Genesis 18:1, where the angels sit and eat with Abraham. I'm not making these things up, I'm merely analyzing what the Quran says. Thus, this is a confirmation right here in your own Quran that angels are nothing more than physical beings. So you cannot tell me that Yahweh and the Elohim that were with Abraham and Lot are not physical or cannot personify in human form. There is a statement in the Bible they all believe in Hebrews 13:2, Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. According to the Bible, when angels appear, they bring light, as in Acts 12:7, where it says, and I quote, "And, behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shined in the prison." Yet, in the book of Hebrews, it says you may entertain an angel and not know it. Entertain angels unaware implies that they can sit in front of you and you won't even know. The fact that angels sat and ate bread with Abraham, Genesis 18:5-8, means they must have been in human form with a human digestive, respiratory, and excretion system and have intestines to hold feces and a bladder to hold urine, two things that are considered impure. How could you not know that an angel is an angel if it does not look just like you? In other words, if what Christians, Hebrews, Muslims, etc., define angels to look like appeared to me, as a fat baby with wings, an illuminating light, some spirit form wearing a halo over its head, flying out of the sky, or a man in a white flowing robe with lights all around him, then there is no way that I could mistake that so-called angel for anything else other than an angel. But if an angel appeared to me, in the form of a man, looking just like myself or any other human being, then there is a great chance that I may not know that I have been speaking with an angel. This statement is clearly telling you that angels look like you. So, when people try to tell you about apparition appearances or spirit angels, they are talking about the devil, because according to 2 Corinthians 11:14, where it says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." The devil comes in the form of light, whereas the rest of the Bible talks about angels as men or in physical or human form. According to this quote, the devil is an angel of light, so when you're in your churches talking about you are getting the Holy Ghost and how you are filled with the Holy Spirit, if it wasn't somebody who walked over to you, then it must be the devil. There are places in the Bible that says that angels appeared, which in the Aramaic, Hebrew, is ra'ah, to see, inspect, and the same in Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic, ra'an means to see with the physical eye. In fact, the statement "I will see you later," araka fi ma bed, means that the person is going to leave you, but when they return physically you will see them. This is not a spirit or apparition. The word used for things of that nature is sa'ada, which according to the Hans Word Dictionary means testimony, witness, evidence, deposition. The Hebrew word used for appeared, ra or ra'ah, is the same word that Hagar, wife of Abraham, called out to the angel Roy in Genesis 16:13. Roy, which is the name of an Egyptian deity, can be found under the word seekest and is from the root word ra, and is sometimes pronounced Ray, from where you get the English word rays, as in the rays from the sun. Hagar, being an Egyptian herself, was calling on the gods of her family. She took the name El she learned from Abraham and her family about the deity named Ra and called on him. Now, in the books of Exodus it speaks of Moses talking with God, Exodus 3:4, and seeing God, or another place such as when Elijah and Moses appeared to Jesus and three of his disciples, Peter, James, and John in Matthew 17:3. Throughout the Old Testament, Yahweh, the head God of the children of Israel, appeared to different people in several places, Exodus 6:3, 1 Samuel 3:21, 1 Kings 3:5, 1 Kings 9:2, 2 Chronicles 3:1, 2 Chronicles 7:12. Now let's get back to the story of Lot. Lot also calls these angels men. If you go further down in this chapter of Genesis 19 to verse 10, it says, and I quote, "But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door." Again referring to the angels as men, Enosh. The first time that the word Enosh, which is the same word, is used in the Bible is referring to a man named Enosh who was the first mortal man. In Genesis 4:26, and from then on the word Enosh was hidden in the English translation under the word man. Also Adam is hidden under the word man in your Bible. This time when they are referring to the angels who came to Lot, they say they have hands, yod hand of man. In order for them to be able to pull him into the house they would have to be in the physical form. Not to mention that they had feet, ragel meaning foot, leg that Lot wanted to wash in Genesis 19:2, mouths and digestive systems to eat in Genesis 19:3, and bodies to lay down on in Genesis 19:4. These beings that you keep referring to in the Bible as angels are nothing more than beings who come to earth for whatever reason, to perform whatever task. These beings that you are calling angels are simply extraterrestrials. Call me what you'd like, but truth is truth. The problem is that people are trying to sell you physical or unseen things, so that they can give you a blind hope for religion. You see, blind and unseen work together. This has to be done because people are turning away from the church and Christianity because they are waking up to the truth. Christianity is dying. Nubians and Orientals are giving them back their religion. So lots of money is being spent to make you think a 2,000-year-old religion can really help. There is nothing that a 2,000-year-old religion can do for you today if it hasn't done anything for your ancestors who came here over 300 years ago. A 2,000-year-old dead man can't do anything for you. Christian leaders and propagators are starting to see that you all are realizing that we are our own gods. And it's frightening them. Back in the 1960s, there was a wave of yogis, Hindus, Buddhists, Swamis, etc., brought to America. The majority of people that were a part of these groups were Caucasians. Even Islam is moving swiftly from Nubians to Caucasians. Throughout all of the phases that Nubians went through, we maintained our African identity. There is a wave of Christians that are out now spending millions of dollars making videos and tapes to keep you under the spell of religion. These videos include information on different groups, Satanism, government involvements, New World Order, etc., but at the same time, trying to convert you to their new form of Christianity. They are the New Age. Why do you call the so-called angels extraterrestrials? When you break down the true meaning of the word extraterrestrial, you come up with extraterrestrial, meaning extra beings, that are on the planet Terra, another name for Earth, and bred the word terror as in terrorized to keep you fearing some spook god, that are astral, out or from the stars. So an extraterrestrial can be anything from a meteorite to a comet to a being from another planet. Do you follow? The word extra is self-explanatory, it means more than is needed or should occupy. Terrestrial is the opposite of celestial. Terrestrial means earthly, to reside within the Earth's atmosphere. So you have extra beings in the terrestrial or terrible environment called the planet Earth that come from the stars. That's why Jesus said in John 8:23, and I quote, "And he said unto them, Ye are from beneath, I am from above Anu," meaning up, on high, above, ye are of this world, I am not of this world. He was simply saying he is not an earthling. He is from somewhere else, somewhere that is up there, or what some refer to as heaven. The Muslims call it Samawati. The Hebrews call it Shemayim, both coming from the word Sham or Sama, meaning up there. That's also why in John 6:38, John 6:42, that he said, I, Jesus, came down from heaven, Oranos heaven, air, sky. Which is nothing but the Orion star constellation. Yes, your Jesus and his Father is in the Orion star constellation. It says it right in your Bible in Matthew 5:16, Matthew 18:19, Mark 11:26, and a host of other places. Jesus was an extraterrestrial born on planet Earth, yet someone or some being that was not of this earth, insofar as he said in John 8:23, from the stars. In books that I have written, such as Leviathan 666, edition number 15, I spoke about conspiracies, broke down the entire book of Revelation and the prophecies, the symbolism of the dollar bill and more. I told you about sacred movements, secret societies, and what their purpose is. Now, everywhere you turn, there are reports about the occult. People are wondering whether the prophecies of the book of Revelation are coming true. People are just waking up to information on the Illuminati and the New World Order every day. It's all over the place. For years I have been teaching of how Jesus wasn't crucified on a cross, and I gave several facts to back it up. I told you what size the cross would have to be in order to support Jesus. I told you the type of wood that had to have been used to hold Jesus' weight. I told you the size of the nail that was hammered into Jesus' wrist and how it couldn't have supported his body, and I can go on and on. But what did you do? You said, he is an antichrist, he's crazy. Jesus did die on a cross. Or that's not what my Bible says, but now you have hundreds of so-called scholars who are now saying the exact same thing that I said over 20 years ago. But you don't call them any kinds of names, you just accept what they say. There are different kinds of extraterrestrial beings. Some look like humans, others look like insects, and others are indescribable. Now that I've been talking about extraterrestrials, it is all over the media. This has happened to me since I began teaching. I would say something or write information in my books, then soon enough it is the main topic in the news. Now I said that 666 is a fake number used to hide zigzag zig because the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet would be Zion, and you would get ZZZ, or Zion Zion Zion, which is now the seventh letter, but originally was the sixth letter, which is now the letter Vav. So you would have WWW, or Vav Vav Vav, and the Hebrew abjad of Vav is equivalent to the number 7, which is the ancient Ashuric Arabic number 6. And the Arabic letter Vav is nothing but the number 6 upside down. The sixth letter Vav, which is equivalent to the Arabic number 7, or the seventh letter Zion, which is also equivalent to the Arabic number 7. The Arabic number 7 is nothing more than the Hebrew number 6. They simply switch them around to deceive you. You can best believe that soon they will try to use this information also. I predicted that the year 2000 AD would be the end of the world. By that I mean, the end of the devil's rule. His 6,000 years are up. You can see his rule coming down all around him. When I first said it 30 years ago, I looked crazy, but now everyone is saying it. I was basing this on the alignment of the planets in this solar system. Back in the 1990s, it was all over the media like never before. A man named Richard W. Noon wrote a book entitled May 5, 2000 in 1982 AD, predicting the end of this world. Everything that I have said is now coming to pass, and it's no coincidence that the whole world is lining up to what I am saying. All the religious teachers, different sects of Muslims, different denominations of Christians, all of the Hebrew Israelites, etc., are taking bits and pieces of my doctrine and using it as if they are saying something new. You have people like Minister Louis Farrakhan quoting everything I say. Ask him, why is he quoting everything I say if I'm so wrong? Or people like Dr. Valentine, Dr. Blair and the likes are talking about melanin, or UFOs, which I later changed to IFO, Identified Flying Object, and everybody picked that up too. As a Muslim, I spoke about these things. I spoke about the Enuma Elish, the Gilgamesh epics, and the tablets that were written and recorded long before the Bible and the Quran. Everything that I said years ago is confirming itself. Now all of these things are becoming a reality to you. Because it is beginning to happen to you. But still I'll be called a nut, and with the holy tablets that was revealed to me for you, they are going to foolishly turn away from it.